The best days of your life, when there's a spring in your step and the joy of learning in your heart. It's ironical that the days that are the most carefree are also the ones that most students, at least in India, spend worrying over. Who said student life is easy when life-defining decisions like career choices, scoring nothing less than a 90, decoding further avenues for study need to be made?
There was no pressure as such that you have to do good, but I knew it myself that in India if you want to get a good college, like if you get below 95 or 94%, there are not many options left, or at most 92. Like below 90 is like you are kind of nowhere.
To be honest, when I was in my graduation days, it was like I used to be pretty much focused towards what I have to do in my future. So it was first to study well and get the job.
Picture this. In a top-notch college like the Sri Ram College of Commerce, there are 28,000 students competing for just around 400 seats, where cutoff for one of the courses in 2011 was 100%. This means just 2% of the students who apply at the college actually get selected. This is an acceptance rate far lower than one of the world's biggest universities, Harvard.
Everything in the college based on merit, from admission to appointment of teachers to admission in the hostel, in various curricular activities and very tough auditions we take. And in that process, really the talent comes out. Every student of this college realizes that nothing could be achieved in this life without merit.
I got a 98 or something and I couldn't get into the top school that I wanted to get into, so I'm sure even now that's the same problem. I think for the IIMs you need to get a 99 percentile, so yes, it's a huge problem in terms of like the percentage game. I mean, the parents aspire their kids go to the best schools.
Stressed, lost, and sometimes just defeated by the system. Perhaps there is no other option at times for a student to pack his bags and sidestep the Indian education system for quality education from an institution of their choice in a foreign land. And with rising incomes and higher aspirations, this is a choice that every parent and student is willing to explore.
Cutoffs and where these marks are going, I think it's pretty obvious that, you know, for many times I think it's easier for students to get admission to a, say, a top 50, top 40 university in, you know, overseas than it is to get admission into the IITs or Delhi University. So I think there's a third bucket, and I think with greater income, with rising income levels, with rising aspiration, I think that, you know, bucket is also growing in size. So in some ways, I think the negative or the, you know, the pressure on these on student India exporting students because of immigration, I think is being offset by you know greater income and great ability to sort of spend more money on education.
Aspirational, yes. But more than aspiration, it's a concrete list of reasons that make students want to explore foreign universities and courses, and this list has only grown over the years.
Well, what's driving them to do that is the rotten quality of Indian schools and colleges, and secondly, you suddenly sense a freedom that even second quality education institutions abroad open your mind. They value questioning, they value curiosity, they ask you to write papers, and questioning is something that is encouraged.
According to a study, the number of Indian students going overseas rose a stunning 256%, from 53,000 in 2000 to a whopping 1.9 lakh by the end of the decade, with the United States being the destination of choice, education magnate United Kingdom coming a close second.
If I think about MBA education in particular, I think there are 2 or 3 differences that I would highlight. One is the global nature of the curriculum in many schools in the West. By the global nature in the curriculum, I mean, of course, exposure to how different companies operate all over the world, but also in the global community that gets formed when you come to an institution here in the United States. So a global community in terms of the number of students who come from many different countries, global community in terms of the faculty members who have grown up in and have had experience living in many different countries. And then it's this relationship between participants and that is the students and industry, for instance in the MBA program, that is very, very deep.
Me being a PG student, I basically look at practical education. I would want to see how the world works outside. And being in retail management also, looking at the FDI sector that is coming in India, I need to have a global view how, the industry works outside.
For Kanishka Jain, a student who took the plunge and decided to go to Paris to pursue her course in fashion design and management, India simply did not offer her enough reasons to stay back.
My course was such, I didn't find anything at that time and it was not matching to what I wanted. So that's the reason I chose to go abroad, and I'm happy I took that decision. India did not have much options for me in that particular course because I always was a very creative person, and over here creativity only meant making clothes. And that was not my aim. My aim was to do more than clothes.
But for young and dynamic Rishabh, who is currently studying in the University of Santiago, it's the flexibility in curriculum that the foreign universities offer which made him choose education abroad over India. Courses overseas helped him try his hand at many things before he finally settled in doing his major in international business.
Colleges in the US where they're exactly like in India, but most of them are like where you have a really flexible academic situations where, for example, just because it's a 4-year university, the first year you can do whatever you want. You can try subjects, you can take theology, you can take religion, you can take philosophy, psychology, anything that you want, you can try it out.
A student who is in an age group of 17 to 18 is quite confused about what is his ultimate career going to be. And therefore, there is need for flexibility in the education system. And that flexibility is commonly available in European education or in education in many other countries, including USA.
I started out wanting to be an engineer like my father. You know, every son wants to be like his father. But very quickly, I discovered chemistry. And then I came home in the summer and for the first time saw poverty in India. And I went back and I said, I must now study economics. So I changed to economics. And I did economics for a while. But very quickly, in my second year, end of my second year, I discovered history, philosophy, literature. And I started reading enormously. It changed my subject.
The key word here is options. Options in terms of courses, in terms of universities, in terms of subjects, and above all, options for students of every segment and strata. But to make this life-defining decision, both Rishabh and Kanishka needed help. Help that would guide them, mentor them to make the right choice. And they both opted for counseling.
I definitely took guidance and counseling because you need options in life if you have to study abroad. You cannot just hear about one university and go for it. You need to have at least 4 or 5 options in your hand, depending on the grades you get in your 12th grade. So I went to a couple of counseling agencies, and they gave me a lot of options, which helped my way through easily because I wasn't confused from the very beginning.
We have two types of students who walk in. Again, I'm just making it it's an oversimplification. Those who are absolutely clear on what they want. Okay? And the second set, I call them misguided missiles. They just don't know, what's right for them. They've just heard something and they've just come in with a lot of baggage. So I think the first one is an easier bunch to handle. Hey, these are the institutions I want to get into, and this is my path, and please help me in doing A, B and C. But the second one, which is tough, but which is also enjoyable because it's challenging. So first, in the second set, you have to clarify their goals. Hey kid, why do you want to go abroad? Is it just because your cousin went there? Is it just because your classmate went there? And then you have to engage with their parents. Why do you want your child to go abroad?
Since EGE started in 2010, they have seen an astounding rise in students wanting to pursue education overseas. And keeping their demands in mind, they have designed systems that help students make the decision swift and fast.
We have done at EGE, we have tried to build a multi-layered team. The first person that the student meets at EGE is the counselor. That counselor is someone who has experience of 5, 6 or 8 or 10 years in guiding, hand-holding students to apply to universities abroad. So we call it the counselor. The counselor is supported by a second layer, which we call the central think tank, which is housed by our people who are graduates of foreign universities. And there's also a research team to support them. Then the third layer is the mentors. Some of the mentors, as I mentioned, are full-time with EG, they are our employees, and some of them are working abroad or are studying abroad in the types of institutions that typically the Indian students aspire to go. I call it the layer 3. And then we have the layer 4, we have international offices, and our counselors and central think tank are in continuous touch with the international offices to get their inputs on guiding students.
On the other side of the break, we get you a more detailed look into just how the Indian education system perhaps needs to learn a lesson or two from its more liberal Western counterparts. The numbers tell the story. Despite the fact that many universities and colleges in India are expanding, yet this has not managed to dent the aspirations of students wanting to study abroad. It's not just the foreign degree that one gets, but the infrastructure available for research what makes the Western education system stand apart.
The quality of courses and the kind of relevance of courses that I get here, that is amazing, and the kind of things that you can do at a place like Harvard, where you can study in the business school and then take courses at the School of Government and then take courses at the education school and sort of get a more holistic view of things, that I don't think is that easy to get in even a top class Indian place.
The education is such that professors have to perform as much as the students. They're both being graded all the time, they're both being evaluated all the time. And one of the most important measures for a professor is research. And the better the university, the more time professors have for research. And in India, most universities flog their teachers into teaching, night and day, leaving them with no energy to do research.
Industry-linked academia is what the students are demanding today. Employers around the world respect degrees from the United States institutions more than any other country, as the focus there is more on skill development rather than just theoretical knowledge.
Most of the jobs, most of the good companies actually originate in those countries where these universities are present. So staying in this country, in India, if I want to go to a very good MNC, it's a very difficult task and I have to go via various channels. But if I go to a foreign university, which is a good one, my entry to that kind of a company becomes very easy.
India historically, and in many countries in Asia and other developing countries, the tendency has been to learn from textbooks. That's certainly how I was brought up in my first 18 years of schooling in India. And the downside of that, on the one hand you can be very rigorous at what you teach, but on the downside you're not particularly connected to the demands of industry, to the demands of society, the demands of government in many different ways. And the relevance of the skill set that you cultivate in the students is sometimes questionable when you graduate from the institutions. There is much greater connectivity between practice and theory in many institutions in the West.
Even out of the people that pass out, there are studies to show that only 21% of the management graduates are employable, or only 20 to 25% of the engineering students are employable, or 3 to 4% of certain general degree courses, which are the bachelor's degree courses, are employable. So the challenge here is that you've got dropouts, you've got very few people completing the courses, and out of those that complete the courses, a very small percentage are found fit for work in the economic sector of India.
What attracts students to study overseas is mostly a combination of unconventional methods of teaching, a more flexible and holistic evaluation process with a well-defined semester and a grading system in place. In addition, students get an opportunity to soak in a global experience and interact with students from around the world.
I think the big benefit of the education system as it exists in the United States is this focus on the individual, both in terms of developing a wide range of capabilities. So I think of it as trying to develop T-shaped individuals. They have to have a certain amount of breadth so that even if you're studying, let's say, a discipline like engineering, you are also exposed to different humanities and the liberal arts and sociology and international relations and anthropology. So a broad-based education in order to understand the world, in order to understand the dynamics, in order to understand how people work, and then some depth in the area that you want to specialize in.
Teaching is based on continuous evaluation, where you are continuously learning, you're continuously doing homework assignments, you're continuously taking tests in the middle of the year, so that you don't have the shock of having to study for everything at the end. You are slowly building up your knowledge. And when you do it this way, the level of understanding that you receive is much higher than when you would sort of do everything at once at the end.
As incomes rise and aspirations climb, students' demand from the education system too has increased. From demanding better amenities in college to better choices, better combination of subjects and better methods of teaching. With students experiencing all this in foreign universities, the writing is on the wall.
So what I learned at Carnegie Mellon was sort of the idea of institutional excellence and best practices, how an institution is supposed to run, how an institution is supposed to be managed, and what a great faculty should look like.
Having my degree, my undergrad degree in the US, I've taken several courses in interpersonal and communication skills, courses such as conflict resolution, courses such as influence without authority, and a lot of those soft skills I believe are truly instrumental in creating the leaders for tomorrow, which are not currently available in institutes in India. And I think that is where India really needs to grow and needs to come a long way if we really want to create good leaders for our country.
The reasons may be many, but at the heart of it all is the quest to be the best. To be successful and to pack in a power punch in a fiercely competitive and a global world. Next week we tell you the perfect way on how you can actually crack the code to get into a foreign university of your choice. And and move closer to fulfilling your dreams with the help of proper counseling and guidance.
If you take a ship, if it goes off just by 1 degree in the initial course of its life, it will land up thousands of nautical miles at a completely different destination. So if that ship had got that right guidance and hand-holding at the right point of time and got that 1 degree right, it would have probably reached its destination.